This is Pod Populi, podcasts for the people.
Hi, I'm Dorothy, a reformed celebrity gossip girl and mom of two living that Greenwich life in the suburb of Greenwich, Connecticut. Once upon a time, I was a red carpet reporter and tabloid magazine editor in New York City, appearing on all your favorite TV shows, spilling the secrets of the stars. But now I'm using my storytelling power for a purpose far greater than gossip. My own traumatic journey to motherhood and late-stage pregnancy loss taught me that we're all dealing with hard stuff. And it's that shared experience that bonds us together more than we realize. You don't need to live in Greenwich or even located on a map to join me every Thursday. All you need is a love for stories that are real, raw, and remind us just how resilient and connected we all really are. Now let's get started. If you've been listening to the show, you know my road to my baby girl was paved with heartache, including 5 rounds of IVF and 1 IUI, none of which worked. I didn't have the most positive experience, and I felt treated like a number instead of a human. I wish I would have known about Illume Fertility, a leading fertility and family building practice serving the tri-state area since 2002. Led by an award-winning team of highly credentialed, board-certified reproductive endocrinologists, Illume Fertility delivers a complete range of fertility assessments and treatments from 5 conveniently located sites in Connecticut and New York. They specialize in a range of assisted reproductive treatments, including IUI, IVF, egg and sperm freezing, and pre-implantation genetic testing known as PGT. Visit illumefertility.com for more info. Hey everyone, and happy Thursday. Welcome back to yet another episode of That Greenwich Life, and a special one at that because this episode is the show where we are wrapping our 5-part 2025 New Year Glow Up series. And this has been a really fun series. If you all have been listening, you heard from my friend Juliet Ezon. She is a travel journalist who's been featured in the New York Times, Wall Street Journal, all about the places that we must check out in 2025. That was part 1. Part 2, my friend Nicole Caroline, who is the skin expert. She is basically like a skin advisor, a skincare advisor for Access Hollywood. And she just leveled up to her brand new skin spa here on Greenwich Avenue. And she shared a lot about what that journey was for her, overcoming imposter syndrome, and how skincare is really those few minutes a day that we can give ourselves a little bit of self-care. That was part 2. Part 3, you guys heard from me. That was a solo episode. And that episode actually, I think, was a very important episode to share because it talked about not just, these fun aspects of leveling up in 2025, but even like the more, what do I want to say? Like the more impactful aspects of it, like the importance of really listening to yourself, listening to your gut, to what your inner knowing is, and really trusting your own judgment over asking a million people for advice and things. And it's a really, really hard practice. I'm still working on it. I did that episode actually kind of selfishly because I just felt like I needed to talk about it more, and hopefully it helped many of you. And then last week, we had part 4 of our 2025 Glow Up with the fabulous Carly Ridloff of The Exchange Project, talking all about sustainability, and not sustainability in some like lofty way. Like, what does that even mean? Do I use less water bottles, et cetera? No. Actually, the fact that she has a business where you can exchange your gently worn clothes, not high-end stuff like Gucci and Fendi. She has that too, actually. But this is more where we can take, a beautiful dress that we bought at Zara 2 years ago that we've basically, seen ourselves on Instagram. We've seen ourselves on Instagram like 3 times and we're just sick of looking at it and it's in great condition. But what do you do with it? You go and donate it somewhere. Chances are it's probably not going to get to the right people who need it and it's going to end up in a landfill. And so she talked a lot about that. And I feel like that was so inspiring. But to wrap up our series, and I have an amazing guest, by the way, who is here in studio with me, waiting super, super patiently, always for my very, very long intros. But the way that I really wanted to wrap this series up for this month of January is talking about our spaces, our personal spaces, and whether that is a home for you, whether that is a I mean, listen, this is Greenwich, right? Whether that is a 10,000 square foot home or whether that is a 2,000 square foot home or whether that is a studio apartment, it doesn't matter. Size doesn't matter. Well, in this discussion, size doesn't matter, but size doesn't matter. What matters is, when we're going around in the world and we're dealing with all of this self-growth and we're looking at ourselves and we're looking at relationships with people, it is so important to feel like the place that you return to every night, most nights, that is a safe space for you. It is a place where you can enter and open the door, enter the space, and you can feel like your nervous system has a place to reset and to recharge. It's probably, right, this goes to a lot of the things I talk about on the show, where probably a lot of us have crazy nervous systems that are popping off like 4th of July fireworks because perhaps at different points in our life, we didn't have that space that just felt relaxing and free of chaos and peaceful and calm. And so I know for me, I have realized more than ever before in my life how important it is. I can be very argumentative, and so can my husband. And I have realized how important it is to really just try and keep the living space, a place of harmony and just, I keep saying it, but just a safe space. And so what better person to bring into the studio to talk about ways that we can really keep our space zen and make it feel like a true home? Because you can have a large home, you can drop millions of dollars on a home, but unless you know how to make it feel like yours and make it comfortable for you and for your family, it's just not going to feel that way for you. So sitting here in the studio with me, she is a very good friend of mine. I will share the story of like the moment where I always knew she was awesome, but the moment where I really just like could not believe like what an incredible heart this human being has. And if you follow any kind of interior design, she has been featured by House Beautiful, Martha Stewart, her own home, which I know is a project that is close to her heart. And believe me, her house is gorgeous, like every single detail. It's been featured. They did the New England Home Magazine did a full feature on her own home. Greenwich Magazine has done a full feature on homes that she's done. Please welcome to the show, my friend, Andrea, who I like to call her Andi, but Andrea Sinkin, the founder of Andrea Sinkin Designs.
Thank you. With a beautiful intro like that, I'm afraid to open my mouth, but we'll leave it there.
Well, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
And I'm so happy to have you. You have been such a huge supporter of me and That Greenwich Life. And I always love when you send me messages, when you're listening, folding your laundry or whatever. And you called me one time from the car pickup line about something that you had heard that you were like, I got to talk to you more about this.
Yes. It feels like a conversation when you're talking into the mic. And I know you're in a studio and you're talking to a lot of people, but I always feel like you're talking to me.
Oh my gosh. Well, that is 100% the biggest compliment. Thank you. Because that is the goal. That is the goal. If you have a podcast, if you have a TV show, I had a TV show for several years. I did TV for over a decade. And you really always want to make the audience feel like the message and the conversation is really just between you and that one listener. So
no, you really connect, I think, on a lot of dots with a lot of people.
Thank you.
One of the many reasons I love you.
Thank you. And, if you guys have been following this show, I want to start here really quick because before I talk about like what an incredible business Andi has and like just the most beautiful, guys, you have to go to her Instagram page at Andrea Sinkin Design, or is it Designs?
Design, singular.
Design.
Yeah.
Singular.
Everyone wants to give me the S.
Right.
Yeah, I know.
At Andrea Sinkin Design, you guys have to look. Like every single time that something pops up in my feed, a new project that she's working on, like a dining room that she just completed in someone's home, or like a bar area in someone's home, I'm just sitting there thinking like, how did she come up with this combination and these layers of beautiful elements? She is truly talented. So you have to see. But before we talk about the beautiful homes that she has worked on and the beautiful spaces that she's created. I just want to tell you guys about a night during COVID, because a lot of my listeners, most of them, if they've been listening, they know full well what I have gone through to have my daughter Gemma, who's 22 months now, crazy, and how my infertility journey was hell on earth. And I went through 5 rounds of IVF and I had so many losses. I lost a baby at 21 weeks. I went through literally the hell of all hells. And Andi was somebody at the time who I connected with, who really stepped up and connected with me to the point that the night before I was going in for, I think it was a retrieval. No, it was a transfer. It was an IVF transfer where they take the embryo that they've already frozen and then they put it back in and they hope that you get a positive pregnancy test in 2 weeks. Very, very stressful, very, it's a
highly
really,
charged,
it's a really debilitating situation if you have not experienced it or you don't know anyone who's been a part of it. But she showed up at my door with her rose quartz jewelry that she had worn, because rose quartz represents fertility.
Yeah.
And she literally showed up at my door during the depths of COVID, people, like when nobody was going out or doing anything or seeing anyone. And she didn't come in, but she just pulled up. I think you had like your dog in the car, and I ran out and she handed me this little pouch and I wore it. And it didn't work, but it didn't matter, because like the love and support that I felt during that dark time meant the world to me. And I always tell you that. And I always just think of you in that way.
It's all part of the journey where you got where you needed to be. And
100%.
all those building blocks, which at the time don't make sense.
100%. And
I always think of life as like a tapestry. So when you're under it, it's just a bunch of strings. But at some point you'll get the perspective to look down and it becomes this beautiful, magnificent piece that makes sense.
Yeah.
But when you're underneath it, it's just a bunch of strings.
I actually love that. And also how on brand for the interior designer to talk about life like a tapestry. It's just so good.
There's a much more eloquent way to say that.
No, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. Okay, so let's talk about some of the work that you've done. Okay, so, if you're in Greenwich, I've always been astounded since I moved to Greenwich. I've always been astounded by like the fact that I'm in the minority that I did not use a designer for my house. And I feel like everybody else, so many other people, and by the way, if you're listening and you haven't, don't feel bad, but it's just really incredible in Greenwich how so many people hired someone like you to, figure out like what couch to buy and what rug to buy and what wallpaper to do and everything. It's really like and so as a result, you get to see so many beautiful homes here.
Correct.
And so you've been doing this. So you started your own business in 2017, but you were doing this before that.
Correct.
Right. With your mom.
So my mom has been a designer for over 50 years. So I grew up in it.
It's in your blood.
So I grew up going to jobs and looking at blueprints. And then when I graduated college, I went to school for marketing at Clemson. She was hoping I would go into the business with her and brought me to Parsons in the city to look at going for grad school. And I just wasn't ready. And I really do think with interior design, I applaud these girls that go straight into it and young guys that go straight into it and really have a voice at a young age. For me personally, I think to be more authentic and really understand the nuances of it, I had to grow. So I launched my own career in fashion and I worked in textiles and trend forecasting. And I had a great time. And I couldn't have imagined going into interior design then. I wanted to travel and meet all these people. And I had some amazing experiences that I wouldn't have had if I'd gone straight into design.
Right.
But throughout that process, I had my mother and I was always involved in it. And then I started High Point, which is a trade show in North Carolina. My trend forecasting company, we became their brand partner and ambassador and started doing their trend talks. I was not the one doing the talks. I was in sales working with clients. But from that, I went to night school locally here at SUNY Purchase and New York School of Interior Design. It was appropriate, the timing, and I was at a stage in my life where it was calling to me. And one thing led to the other, and I started back to night school, and I was probably in my mid-30s then, and I never graduated because I started working while I was in school, and my business started from there, and that was 2017.
So that's a really inspirational story. There's like a couple of things about that I want to just really quick cherry pick out. Okay. Yeah. Number one, even though it probably would have been an easier road for you just to go straight into interior design with everything that your mom had going on, you listened to something within yourself that said, no, I don't think this is the right time for me to do this. And I don't think that this is exactly the right path for me at this moment. And I think that that's really important because that's something that we talk about a lot on this show. The fact that, we have a tendency, or I have a tendency to be so easily influenced by kind of what other people want us to be doing. Yeah. That it has taken a lot of training for me to really listen to what feels right for me. And so I love that at a young age, you were able to identify that and then just kind of chart your own course. And then the second thing that I want to highlight about what you just said that stood out to me is the fact that you decided then, okay, you know what? I'm in, I'm going to do this. And then you went to night school, which I love because you are a hustler and I always knew that about you. But then you ended up like kind of falling into it and it started carrying you away. And then you didn't graduate and Correct. you just kept going. And now look at you, you have your own highly successful, business that has received so many accolades. And so, sometimes I think what's important to know about that, at least what I hear, is that sometimes the path that you think, the way that you think you have to do something, it really doesn't have to be done that way. Like we are all in charge of charting our own course.
Correct.
And that's what you did. And yeah, I mean, it's great to get an education and I have a college degree and I have a journalism degree, and I would definitely encourage my kids, at some point to go and get a degree and graduate and all of those things. But for anything that you feel passionate about and that you're meant to do, like your destiny, you don't necessarily have to take all of those steps that are like what society, expects of you, right? Yeah. And so I think it's great. Like you're a nonconformist, and I love that about you. And you are, I think, with your design too. I mean, you obviously have to listen to your clients in a way, but you still have like your own vision for things.
I recognize that in you as well. You have your own path and you know what works and what doesn't. And then from that, you're able to extrapolate, what your take is on it. And even coming now into your own podcast, I think the world's aligned at the perfect moment for you to have this. And there's also something to be said for being a working mom and being close to home and being able to do something, which I say it's cheesy, but it's on brand. It's part of your vibe. It's part of your soul. It's part of your DNA.
Thank you.
And to be able to do it locally in the town that you love with your family nearby, the universe has lifted up to find the right spot at the right time.
You're 100% right. And, if you guys are watching on YouTube, by the way, because I do post these videos to YouTube, it's youtube.com/@Dorothy on TV. We are in the Pod Populi studio in Greenwich. We're just like right by Greenwich Avenue, which if you haven't been here before, it's kind of like, I always say it's like the Fifth Avenue, it's like Greenwich is like mini Manhattan. And the beauty of this is that we were actually scheduled to tape a different day. And then we ended up doing it today. And my daughter is back at my house, which is only about 4 minutes around the corner, sleeping while my husband is working from home. So it is really, it is like super. I mean, it's like, in the morning, I'm literally at her little baby class with her for an hour and a half, trying to teach her how to share. It was so funny. Like every single kid got the thing, like, Leo has a turn. And then it comes to Gemma and she's like, no, I'm not passing it to the next kid. So I spend my morning that way and then my afternoon here. And it is really, really nice how it all kind of worked out.
Yeah. No, I do think life is also, it's riding a wave. And when you're at different phases, something might seem more valuable at the time. So for example, going back to my fashion career, I wanted travel. I wanted New York City life, which ended up parlaying into a big European component as well. But I'm at the stage in my life now where I want to nest and I want everyone around me to nest.
Yes.
And there is nothing more gratifying than turning a home over to someone that you have created for them, with them, and knowing the feeling of comfort and love and joy that they will have that I have in my own home, and the fact that I could share that and make it a career. I mean, obviously,
to get paid doing what you love.
Totally.
And you're helping others too. So when you get started with a job and it's kind of like a blank slate, or, they just have a bunch of like old furniture that they moved in from the other like 3 houses or rentals before that. And they bring you in and, you kind of think, okay, well, what are we going to do here? You obviously talk with your client, but what are some of the things that you really identify to make that space feel very homey? Because even though you're doing a lot of really high-end design, I do know, and you've said this to me, but I do know that you also want to make sure that the spaces are functional and that people aren't living in a museum.
And I want them to see themselves in it. So if there was a chair that they remember that their grandmother had, it's very important to me that we work that into the design plan, because it's an extension of their life, in every stage that you are. So the starting point is always inventory. So in a perfect world, they give us a blank slate and we can order everything, but that truly isn't the norm.
Right.
And also, you come with baggage from your life. You come with art. You come with things that you have to unload. You come with emotional baggage of maybe something that needs to be unloaded, but you're not ready. And it could be a piece of furniture, a piece of art. So you have to honor those things from the past.
So while Andi is walking us through this, I want everyone who's listening to think about their own spaces, because I'm like, as you're talking, I'm just thinking about different ways that I can kind of make my space feel more like mine and more homey. So I want everybody to kind of like envision their own space and kind of apply this to that.
And no 2 homes would ever look alike.
Right.
Anyone could go to a Pottery Barn or a Restoration Hardware and buy a sofa set, which, but no, seriously, anyone could go buy a sofa set and a coffee table. That is furniture. That's not a home. So it's what the pieces are around it. It's the art. It's the throw blankets. It's the throw pillows. It's the comfort of the carpet underneath. It's the coffee table selection. Like, do you play board games? Do you want to be able to put your knees under it? Do you eat on the coffee table? Do you want to be able to use it for storage? Do you have young toddlers? Then you don't want sharp corners or glass. Every single piece needs to have a reasoning and a thought behind it. But the layering of the room is the most important. So that's, I think, really where hiring an interior designer comes into play, because anyone could go buy some furniture, but I think what I do is so above and beyond that, because it's hard to even explain it to people, but there's so much to the authenticity of a home and the room, and you can immediately see through that. So even looking at you right now, like, your lipstick is always so beautiful, and your hair, and you love bright colors, and you love design, and you love fashion. That is translated into how you designed your home. You have a beautiful home.
It's definitely.
Oh, you have print, you have pattern, you have color.
My husband's always like, were you feeling okay when you picked out like a lot of these things?
Like the fact that you even figured out how to access some of that.
The Pierre Frey wallpaper. Yeah. Well, and also wallpaper. I think I may have told this story before on the show, but it definitely in this conversation with you here as a guest, it's definitely the appropriate place to kind of retell it. When I was looking into doing my dining room, which it's still not where I want it to be, but I don't have a large dining room. This is not like you're thinking of a Greenwich house with like this long dining room that you would find in a castle somewhere where like, my husband's at the other end and we can't even hear each other speak. My dining room is a very
Meat Joe Black.
Yeah. It's like a very regular size, and it's actually like probably pretty small by Greenwich standards. But that's what I always love about That Greenwich Life, because it's like it's not just always what you think about Greenwich, right? Like I'm not even what you sometimes might think about Greenwich. With my, let's say, I'm seeing my sweater. This is Scoop for Walmart. The sweater. Remember Scoop in New York City?
I do think that one of the things when I do think of Greenwich is how much it means to so many people, but it has every type of person.
That's
which
100% correct.
It's international. It's multi-religion.
Yep.
It has apartments. It has government housing. It has palatial mansions that I couldn't even dream to look past the gate because the driveway's so long.
That's right.
And it has everything in
right.
between.
That's right. That's right. But so when I was looking into wallpaper, I found this incredible wallpaper. Kourtney Kardashian had posted about it. I somehow tracked it down, found out who the designer was. And when I got it priced out for not even floor to ceiling, it was literally just ceiling to the chair rail, because my house is an old 1927 colonial. And they priced it out. It was like $8,000 just for the wallpaper, not for the install, just for the wallpaper. And I'm like, well, I definitely can't afford this. I don't even know if if we ended up like making so much more money down the road, if I even would spend that. I just don't know if that's who I am at the core of myself. And not to say that if anybody did or does want to spend that money, that it's wrong. It's just each to her own. And so I ended up hiring an artist, and he came in and he painted the wallpaper. It's like, it's pretty simple. It's just like big black, like interconnected circles that have like kind of a brushstroke look to it. Thank you. And it turned out so beautiful. And I always feel like I'm sitting in the private like back room of a super swanky New York City restaurant when I have dinner parties and things like that in my dining room.
And I do love a smaller dining room. My dining room is as well. And there are certain rules that you pull the chair back, it still needs to be on the rug. My chairs are not on the rug. I know the rules, but I also know enough. I know how to break them, because it wasn't possible to have the size table we wanted in that situation.
Right.
But I do think an intimate dining room, you have better conversations sometimes, as opposed to like the loftier ceiling with the echo. It has a feeling of warmth and like coziness, where you really are bringing people into your space if you're in the dining room. And I think I love that intimacy more so than the grand scale dining rooms.
I agree. Good thing we can't afford a $10 million house. Good thing.
You know what my dream dining room is? I saw this picture years ago. Double tables.
Double tables.
So
side by side?
Side by side, rectangular tables. They each sat maybe 10 to 12. But you didn't, because we used to always host high holidays, which was a sit down for 40 at my house. We haven't done that in a few years. But the double table, you could even have spaces for the extensions on those, but everyone could be together.
Everyone could be in one room.
Exactly, which is, I think, the best part of being at home is being together.
Right.
So if I ever do get the $10 million house, my dining room probably will have the double table.
But I will also tell you, growing up in Philly, whenever we did this type of thing where we were hosting for Christmas and there were 20 people, we had the double tables. It just so happened that they were downstairs in the finished basement,
in the foyer, or craft table,
and they were
table.
They were like plastic folding tables with like plastic tablecloths,
But you were together and you were home, and
that's right.
It feels great.
That's
no
right.
matter how you do it.
Okay, so tell us like a couple things that we can think about just in terms of reimagining our own spaces, or maybe some things that might be lacking from our space that we don't even really know is, or just like easy kind of updates that wouldn't break the bank, things that we can think about for 2025.
Oh my God, there's so many great things. So
like you fire them off.
No, you just hit a lot of things and I went boom. Then you said something else, I was like boom. So let me start. I think one of the most important things that's so overlooked in homes is lighting. So the natural way that people think of lighting is overhead. Like we're sitting in this room right now with, fluorescent overheads. And how would it feel if there was a little pharmacy lamp behind you and me with that directional light that's more specific on the task at hand? And then maybe if on the table over there they had a lamp. And these could, I know you need it for the recording, but when you're working and you're doing a specific task, to have a light focused on you for that task at hand and not have to have the whole room lit up like a Christmas tree, it just feels so cozy and so inviting. So I always tell people layered lighting, and there's been so much technology that's come forward in the last year and a half with that makes it so much more accessible. There's a company based in the UK called Pooky, P-O-O-K-Y. We've been ordering a lot from them, and they have a lot of tech in their lighting. So in my own home, we have a mural wallpaper. Again, that was ordered too small, but it was my own home, so I was able to fix it. A mural wallpaper in our 4-year, well, she just turned 5, in our toddler's room. She just came out of her crib a year ago.
I can't believe that.
I know, I love it.
It's crazy.
But I wanted to add directional lighting so I could lay in bed with her and read to her at night. And it's a built-in nook bed with fabulous curtains and a valance over it. It's so pretty. But I didn't want to harm the wallpaper.
Right.
I didn't want to cut to that wallpaper. So Pooky has these amazing directional sconces that you just install on the wall with, a nail, and they're rechargeable. And sconce has been up there for about 3 months. We use it every night. I read in that bed every night, 1 to 3 books, depending on the battle we're fighting. And I haven't had to charge it yet.
Wow.
And it has, so.
Lighting is a huge thing. You're so right.
It's so ubiquitous too. But when you come into the room, you should have sconces. You need overhead. You need task lighting. You need wall lighting. It's so many different layers of where the light should meet your eyes. And if you do it right, you never notice it.
Yeah, that's
you only
actually a
notice
good
it
point.
when you're uncomfortable.
You're right, because I do know, like, I forget even where I was. I was somewhere. I don't want to be too specific because maybe the person's listening, but I walked in and all the overhead lighting was all like the white light bulbs, not like the warm.
Yeah, so 2700 is the number you want to hit with LED to make it warmer.
The white
Anything
light bulb
above that
it's like very, very stark, and it changes the whole feel of a space.
It brings in a blue light.
Yes, that's right.
And no one looks good under
blue. Hospital lighting.
Yeah,
right?
no one looks good under blue light.
No, and frankly, that's the most important thing, right?
In my office, I have to have blue light.
Right.
So, because that's how we look at fabrics and textiles. And I have layered lighting that I could see under warm light or blue light. But I have the cool bulbs on my overheads in my office because we need that. And I hate it when I'm in there at night because I need it to, get where I'm going. I need
the true colors.
Yeah,
right.
but no one looks good under
So
that.
what else? What else do you really like?
So layered lighting.
Lighting is definitely huge.
I think the word layered is a key word that could really mean so much to so many people if they just keep that in mind. So layered tapestries, layered rug, layered art. When you have a rug that's too small in the room, it looks like a tiny island of furniture like floating. Like I think of it as like Gilligan's Island, like out there in the middle with this big space around it. So that's such an easy update. Big fat daddy rug. If you have a smaller rug that you love, or it's a vintage rug or something special about it that you're holding on to it, double rug.
Right.
But it has to be different texture.
Right.
So the base rug should be like a sisal or a seagrass or something flat or a bouquet or a tight wool or a loop. Nothing spongy. And then the one on top would be a different texture.
Yes.
So that can really define a space.
That makes the space look and feel very elite.
Complete.
Yep.
Yeah. The room, to me, when it's on a little rug, you're just like crying out for help. And bedrooms, people use the wrong rug with the bed all the time.
Oh, what's the right rug?
You need to be able to step onto it when you step off the bed and clearly have a path of travel on it. You might have to step off it to go to the bathroom, but you really do need to have the entire bed anchored with this rug.
I did my rug right in the master.
Yeah, it's once you do it once, you'll never do it wrong again.
Right.
And to have a cohesive furniture layout, half the furniture is not going to be fully on the rug. So you have to remember that as well, that you always need to have those little felts at home for the back legs, because the front legs
are on the rug and the back legs are not. Right?
And some furniture and the higher end furniture, they have like little screws that you can adjust the heights, but not everything has that. A vintage piece wouldn't have that.
Right.
So, and then with the felts, sometimes you want 1, sometimes you want 4. So you need someone strong with you to be holding it up, and it's like a trust exercise.
To make sure that part of it is on the rug, part of it is not, and the thing is not tilted.
Yeah, so you need to have a level.
Okay.
I hear there's a level app on the iPhone.
Yes.
I've never used
There
it.
is. I've
People
never used
around
it
me
either.
have. I'm sure I could probably figure it out, but I just never have. I keep a bag in my car. I call it my doctor's bag, and it's this clear plastic. It's actually a makeup director's bag, and in it is every little trick of the trade. A glue gun, going back to rugs. It doesn't damage the wood floor, and it's so dangerous.
You just glue the rug down?
Yeah. I'll glue, give me a $15,000 rug, and I will hard glue that thing down any day. No one will know. It doesn't damage the rug. It doesn't damage the textile. It doesn't damage the floor.
What?
I'm not going around tracing it like a body, but a little dab on like one in the corner. And it's so important for safety too, because so many people trip on corners of rugs. I've split my toenail countless times when it's new rugs and you can't glue them down yet because they need to settle first.
Right. Okay. That's actually a really good tip. Forget about the cheap rug tape ads that you see. I feel like I get ads for them on like Instagram and Amazon.
I did them years ago. I didn't know any better either.
Right.
This is stuff I've learned as being
glue.
on,
Glue gun.
Yeah, I always have a glue gun.
All right. I like that.
There's another little trick I love called museum wax.
Okay.
And they literally use it in museums when you see like a beautiful head sitting on a podium. You're like, oh my God, what if someone like gives that a little hip bump? Museum wax. It doesn't damage the goods. It doesn't damage where it's going. I use it behind art instead of those stupid little sticky things.
I always find the sticky things everywhere around my house.
Yeah, under lamps I use them. So
that
if a lamp gets hit, if the table gets bumped,
right?
Because they can easily tumble over.
I love that.
But yeah, that's not on a specific design trend, but my head went that way.
I love that. No, I have so many more questions. Like, this is all so amazing, but we're out of time, and it always goes this way. It's just, one of the things about—
I could talk to you all day.
I know. This is so much fun. Yeah. Thank you so, so much for joining us. Guys, if you want to check out Andi and her work, you can go to AndreaSinkenDesign.com, and you can also follow her on Instagram at Andrea Sinken Design. And also, I feel like you should do some tip videos on Instagram, like talking into the camera, because you're so good at this. And I feel like you're imparting so much good knowledge here.
I don't even realize I have the knowledge always until someone asks the question. And then you're like, oh, but it's just part of the trade.
Totally. But thank you so much for being the fifth and final episode of our 2025 New Year's January Glow Up series. It's been
we
a really
all need
fun
a little
one.
glow up. So
I know.
thank you for putting this out to the world.
Oh my gosh. Of course. I love all your tips. And I hope that everybody heard some things here that they can start to kind of apply to their own spaces, just to make them more cozy and more comfortable. And then just to make it like an effortless place, because I have never realized before in my life how important it is to feel like your home is a safe space than I have now. And so thank you guys all for tuning in. I so appreciate, thank you especially to this episode's sponsors. I could not do the show without my sponsors, and also to Pod Populi for hosting me here. And please, if you liked what you heard here, please go on to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, leave a review. It only takes a quick second. Leave some stars, send the link out to a couple friends, to your entire email address book if you feel so inclined, just to get it out there, because I think the more people that are listening, the better off we are. So thank you guys again for tuning in, and I will see you all next Thursday. And remember, don't just live your life, love it. See you soon.